I got hit by a bicycle. And when the officer came by, I said, what do I do? You know, I've just been hit by a bicycle. I'd like to complain. And the officer said, you know, you live in the 20th precinct and they have council meetings. If I'm wrong, by the way, on any of these names or things, just Dr. Bob or Sam, help me out. Because my memory, after all, in a couple of weeks I'll be 79, and I like to think that I do remember I remember my ex-wives. He said, come to a council meeting. I came to a council meeting. Dr. Bob was the president of the council. He said, so what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a college professor and I'm a journalist. He goes, you know what? We need a secretary on the council. You know, people didn't want to join the council. I mean, it was tough to get people. I became the secretary on the council. I've been the treasurer. I had not as good a job as Dr. Bob. I was the vice president. I was the president. Then I was the secretary again. Now I'm the vice president. So what I asked Sam today to help me with my memory. When a couple of names and a couple of interesting things. The reason I'm wearing the Explorer unit, because it reminded me, Louis Anamone was chief of department, correct? Yeah. All right. And when I joined the board, I got involved with the Explorers, and so the Explorers wanted to go to their convention, and the police department said no. And so I said, well, who makes the decision? Chief Anamone makes the decision. I cooked the Explorers. We were told that he has a meeting at 1 pp and then a meeting at the municipal building. So I took the Explorers and we stood outside of 1 pp. When he walked out, he walks up and he goes, oh, Ron, what are you doing here? And all the Explorers said, we want to go to the convention. Guess what? They went to the convention. Jane Perloff was the CO here. Jane Perloff was eventually became the police commissioner of Raleigh, right? Because her husband was, they got married, they moved down there. The thing I remember about Jane Perloff is we had dinner at the Italian restaurant on Amsterdam and 78th Street, near Beacon Hardware. Yeah. Right? Now, she was all dressed up. I took her to dinner when she was leaving. She was going somewhere with her then fiancé. And so she was all dressed up. We were sitting there having dinner, and there were two couples next to us, and I got up to go to the bathroom, and I bumped into the guy's chair. And he got up, and he started screaming. And his wife said, calm down, he's had a little too much to drink. And he kept screaming at her. So Jane Perloff took out her badge, and she said, look, why don't you sit down? I'd like to finish dinner. And he used a very bad word to refer to her. And then at this point, you know, they calmed down, and I turned to her and I said, tell me one thing. Do you carry an off-duty gun? And she said, yes. I said, well, where do you keep it? And she said, if you touch it, you're under arrest. Right. So and then Mike Shea, Chief Shea, was here. Or Bob Varia. I forgot Bob Varia. The fun time. Huh? Gary McCarthy. No, oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous about Gary McCarthy, who many of you may know, is the police chief of Chicago. Yep. And I just rented Netflix called Brick City about when he was the police chief of Newark. Unfortunately, he had a heart attack. He's fine. I understand he's fine. Gary McCarthy was the strongest guy I ever met. Right? I believe he played on the football team. He would go down in the locker room and he would lift he would lift weights. No one would mess with him. Bob Varia, Sam and I had a lot of fun. The Super Bowl sting, the highlight of my 25 years. What we did is, on Super Bowl Sunday, we decided that when do all the delivery people go out, right? Super Bowl Sunday. So Varia got a truck, Sam and I, a huge police van We got on that truck and we went out to 72nd and Broadway. We stopped poor Domino's. We put them out of business. But they went through red lights. They went the wrong way. We took all of the bikes, brought them here, and Super Bowl Sunday, the people had to come to get their pizzas. They had to come here if they wanted to get their pizza. Excuse me, Domino's, or my pizza is late. Well, if you go to the 20th precinct, you can pick it up. Was that fun, Sam? That was fun. Then, I'm sorry, Mike Shea, Chief Mike Shea. He's become a dear friend, and he's done really well in the police department, and just one of the brightest people I've ever met. Then followed by Chief Murtaugh, Jimmy Murtaugh. And I remember then he moved over from here to the 19th precinct, and now he's personnel or chief of, I forgot what it is.
I think he's the Axella personnel or something.
Well, anyway, then Keith Spadaro, who's now running, what is it, Rockville Center? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, and Christopher McCormick, who's now in another precinct. I think his thing was when he came here, he thought he was going to be sent to a really tough precinct. He came here and he found out that the only thing involved here was bikes on the sidewalk and illegal vendors. And then Michael Falcone. So
you forgot Captain McGinn.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You didn't remind me. So what we've done is we bought bikes for the cops. We filled the kitchen. We bought the grills. We bought the snow blower. And I will tell you this, Sam, we talked about this in bar. We had no money. I remember lending the council $100 to pay our bills. So when I leave, I am really pleased with the council. I can say for the members of the council, when I'm gone, you don't need my $100. You've done really, really, really well. I got a couple of last things. Annika Pergamon lived in the neighborhood. I wrote a story about her and her husband, who was at one point, I believe, the community affairs chief. Michael, what was her husband's? Well, and then now he's the head of, I think, Merrill Lynch. Anyway, what happened was she was New York 1. She still is on New York 1. People complained that on 74th or 73rd Street, I forgot, near Apple Bank, they put a fire hydrant, a new fire hydrant in. And then they put a parking meter. They put the parking meter in 8 feet from the fire hydrant. And people were parking there because it's a meter and getting tickets. So I remember going down with a tape measure. She had the crew down there, and we measured 8 feet. The next day, when it went on the air, they moved the parking meter back. I don't know if my nephew John, by the way, I have a lot of friends. My nephew is here. If he remembers his dad, my brother owned the liquor store on 72nd Street. Now John does. I was standing in the bank on 72nd in Amsterdam, which was a city bank then. I'm standing there waiting to cash a check, and suddenly the teller yells out, "Bank robbery." Right now, I had just finished the police academy, civilian police academy. Finished number 15, not 60. There was 16 there, and it was on car stops. Well, they yelled out bank robbery, and I don't know what, believe me, I could run then. I chased the bank robber, yelling 911 bank robbery as I'm crossing the street. Everybody's getting on their cell phone, bank robbery, bank robbery. Right, my brother's standing there, and I'm yelling bank robbery, and they jump in a car, they get to Amsterdam, they make a right turn, and God bless New York traffic, they get stuck at 73rd and Amsterdam. Now, I caught up to them. What am I going to do? I'm right there, but I remember you in the Civilian Police Academy, car stops, right? One officer here, the other officer on this side, put the foot against the back door, and so that they don't, and look down to see if there's a weapon. There was a weapon. Yes. Guess who was in the store at 73rd and Amsterdam? A detective, shopping with his wife, and I'm yelling 911 bank robbery. He came out, pulled out his gun. I can't use the language because they're recording this, but he said, "Don't move, MF." Now, 2 weeks before, they had just finished filming Die Hard in the subway station. People are going, "Where's Bruce? Where's Bruce?" You know, and they're looking for the cameras. There's an officer came running out of the subway with his gun out. He had been on the job 2 weeks, and I'm saying to the detective who's holding up his badge, there's a gentleman in uniform with his gun out, and he's yelling, "Please put the gun away," because he's afraid he's going to drop the gun or shoot himself. Anyway, he gave him that arrest. Then, at the Civilian Police Academy graduation, I was chosen as the valedictorian of the class. Commissioner Bratton, his first go-round, gave me an award. When I stood up there, he turned to me and whispered, "Don't ever do that again." I would say, I don't want to say, all right, this last part, let me stop for a moment. Stop filming, please.